We are, as you can see, we're starting to get a live look inside that courtroom. Okay, there is Tanner Horner. He is coming out of the holdover cell. The holdover cell is where they keep prisoners. Somebody asked which county is paying for this. This will be Wise County. Wise County is, I don't know, several counties over from Tarrant. I mean, don't get me to try to explain exactly, because my geography's not great. I mean, I don't know what I would do without GPS these days. Like everybody else. Somebody asked, I like this question. How would you feel representing someone like this? And would you represent someone like this?
I wouldn't. I couldn't represent him. You know, as a defense attorney, you do your job, and all respect to this defense team, they are doing their job. He has to have representation, he has to have defense. But as a defense attorney, you also have to figure out, is this a case that I can zealously advocate for my client? And this is not a case that I think that I could zealously advocate for him, just because of the nature of everything that he's charged with. And, you know, like I said, you know, last time I was on, I have a daughter that's a month older than what Athena was, and I just don't feel that I could zealously advocate for him. So I would not be able to represent him.
Absolutely. I could completely understand. Then I can also understand the lawyers who say they could. Like, I get it. Because, okay, so it looks like, and they're going to be starting off with the cross-examination of Dr. Ryan. So we're getting some sound from that courtroom. Zeke, you can go ahead and kill our mics, and while we just wait for this.
Everyone may be seated. We're still listening in Jurors. Good morning. Glad everybody's safe. Okay. We are ready to proceed. Cross-examination, Mr. Stainton.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Ryan, thank you for coming back today.
Sure.
I know you hadn't planned on that, I don't think, but I appreciate you staying over with us to chat with us a little bit. I won't keep you up there as long as yesterday. I'm going to let you head back to the Ohio State University. That's an important thing, isn't it? If they put it on their letterhead.
I think it's a proprietary thing rather than an important thing.
All right. So the first thing I want to talk about, let's talk about your report. Your report in this case we talked about is introduced into evidence. It's about 38 pages, is that right?
That's correct.
Now, when you do a report like this one, this report is primarily based off what the person you're interviewing is telling you, right?
No.
Well, I noted in here, there's, I tried to count them, but there's a lot of stuff in here about Mr. Horner, that Mr. Horner reported things to you, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then Mr. Horner told you things, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Horner explained certain things to you?
Yes.
I mean, there's a substantial amount of this information, I'm not going to go over every bit of it, is all coming directly from what Mr. Horner is explaining to you or telling you about a certain situation. Isn't that correct?
Much of it.
Okay. And in fact, you know, most of the stuff that you're asking him about his symptoms, his feelings about things, things that happened in the past, things that happened in this case, so on and so forth, is his report to you, correct?
There is his report, but there is also all of the documentation, the records, the discovery that your office provided, and the collateral informants that I spoke with.
Right. But like, for example, you indicate in one part of your report, Mr. Horner recalled working for Walmart and the reason why he left Walmart. That only can come from him, correct? You don't have employment records for Walmart, do you?
I did have employment records, but I can't recall if Walmart was in there.
And when he gives you a reason for certain things that happened, for example, when he's explaining to you in here about what happened when it came to having sex with a 16-year-old, that comes directly from him. You don't have any additional records.
There was the report, police report, but that description came from him.
Right. And then, for example, when he's talking to you about how much drugs he uses and how often he uses, that comes directly from him, correct?
And it was corroborated by others.
Okay, so you're telling me that there's evidence in here when he says that he's using drugs a certain amount of time, that there's records that corroborate that he was using it that many times?
No, there are no records.
Okay. So again, it's just him.
And a collateral source that I interviewed.
Okay. So you have a collateral source. If I read on page 12 where it says Mr. Horner used hallucinogens, acid countless times, ages 21 and 29. You have a collateral source that says he used acid that many times between the ages of 21 and 29?
No,
So that comes just directly from him.
that comes from him.
And as far as anything to do with, anything to do directly with him, with his unique knowledge, for example, the information about what he did or did not do with Athena Strand in this case, that is solely within his knowledge.
And the discovery information that you provided.
Okay. But anything that he said as to what he was thinking or what went on would come directly from him alone,
Yes,
from his report.
yes.
Now, and so you'll agree with me that from your perspective, it's important to be accurate with what information you reviewed in order to make certain assessments in this case. Would you agree with that?
Yes,
And so in this particular case, you would agree with me that whatever somebody you're interviewing is telling you, it's of critical importance that they're being truthful with you. Don't you agree?
not necessarily.
It's not of critical importance that the person you interview is telling you the truth?
Depends on what the question is and what the issue is and what additional information one might have.
So does it concern, I guess I'm trying to figure out, so they can lie about some things and not about others? And that's okay?
It's not okay, but it is what it is. People do lie. It doesn't mean that everything that they're saying is untruthful. And that's where collateral sources, discovery information, all of that comes in to kind of be able to weigh, in my judgment, what is accurate and what's not.
So when you ask somebody a direct question, you don't think it's important that what they're telling you is the truth?
It's not a question of importance when you're doing this kind of evaluation.
Okay, well, I'm confused. If they're lying to you and you're making diagnosis based on their lies. how
I'm
can
not
you-
making diagnoses based on their lies.
Okay. You're basing it on what they're telling you, right?
No, the diagnoses that I made were based on not only what he told me, but on information from records, educational records, social history, collateral informants, medical records. So in a forensic evaluation, you never just rely on what the person is telling you.
But you've told me there are certain things in here that you relied on that are solely within the knowledge of the defendant in this case.
Maybe it would help if you told me exactly what those were and how they were relevant.
Okay, well, he's telling you certain things.
Right.
And you're telling me that his truthfulness as to those certain things that he's telling you really doesn't matter.
It's not quite that simple. It's clear that he lied on several occasions. What you mentioned before, that he used acid multiple times between the ages of 20 and 29, that came from him. It wasn't really all that relevant to the diagnostic issues that I think were relevant to this particular case.
But if you're making a diagnosis on someone and it's based on what they're telling you and what they're telling you is untrue, how can you rely on that diagnosis?
I think we're probably on a different plane in terms of diagnoses. So, for example, if Mr. Horner had been the only person presenting me with information that he had autism spectrum disorder, I would not have relied on that. I would not have made that diagnosis. It's only because there was collateral information, there were many records, as well as my evaluation of him, that indicated that that was a legitimate diagnosis to make.
But let me ask you this, since we're talking about truthfulness, you agree with me that if the person you're interviewing is not telling you the truth about certain things in that you're asking them, doesn't that call into question their truthfulness about other issues as well?
Yes.
So if they lie to you now, probably a liar later.
I wouldn't say that. They could be lying later.
And I would think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it would be important for you to disclose to us in your report if somebody is being untruthful to you. You believe that's important, right?
It depends.
So how do you pick and choose what you tell us when somebody's being untruthful?
Well, first of all, the report and what needs to be in the report is pretty much dictated by what has to be disclosed in the report. I didn't put the facts of the offense in the report. So that's not there, but I did disclose my notes to you. So you have those.
Mm-hmm. All right. But what you're saying is, and what I'm trying to get here is that you picked and choose what you put in your report. You left some things in your notes and you put some things in your report. You made those decisions.
I made the decisions about what would go into the report. There was 18 and a half hours of interviewing, and the report was already 38 pages. I didn't put every single thing into the report.
But you dictated what you felt was important for your report and then left out the other things that were not important.
I think the word important is not really accurate. I put in the report what I thought was relevant to making a diagnosis, and there are plenty of things, as you are probably well aware in my notes, that are quite favorable to Mr. Horner that I didn't put in the report. I didn't think that they were necessarily relevant to my diagnoses and opinions.
We didn't talk about your notes yesterday, did we?
I don't recall them being brought up.
So as part of your report, you put a list of information and records and things that you reviewed in preparation for this case.
Correct.
Up to and including today, is that a complete list of every piece of evidence, report, interview, everything that you've reviewed up until today? Is that a complete list?
Except what I mentioned yesterday, where I forgot to put the interview that I did with the in-home therapist as one of my collateral informants.
So that's it. You haven't reviewed any additional evidence at any point up until and including today?
I don't believe so.
And I was a little confused yesterday. We talked a little bit about, your bill and you said something about it goes to Ohio State, something like that. It sounds like if we add together today, your bill is close to $100,000. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right. So I tried to keep up with it yesterday, but how many actual diagnoses did you come up with for the defendant in this case? Is it 6 or 7?
There were 10, actually.
10. I think one of those, and I'm just going to ask you this, one of those is something to do with PTSD. Did you make that diagnosis as well?
I did.
Have you read the report from Drs. Spence and Imhoff in this case?
I did, yes.
And they indicate he doesn't have PTSD, correct?
I don't recall if they said that he did or he didn't. I got those reports, I believe, after I had completed my evaluation and report.
So if they say that he doesn't have PTSD, are you wrong or are they wrong?
I believe I'm correct.
Okay. So Imhoff and Spence are wrong. Okay. Now, we talked a little bit about fetal alcohol. And I know you're not an expert on fetal alcohol. I'm not going to ask you that. But you did give us some information yesterday about fetal alcohol. It's not syndrome. There's something else. It's alcohol exposed. Is that what you said yesterday?
Fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, as opposed to fetal alcohol disorder.
I'm going to write that down here. Now, what I'm confused about here is so you're not saying that every woman that doesn't know they're pregnant and parties or drinks a little bit is going to give birth to a child with fetal alcohol syndrome disorder.
Spectrum disorder.
Sorry,
yes.
spectrum disorder, sorry.
Correct. I'm not saying
You're
that.
not saying that.
No.
So there's not an actual number of drinks or whatever. Some people party a lot and don't give birth to a child that has any type of fetal alcohol problems, correct?
That's correct.
You mentioned something and you made a statement yesterday that your diagnoses went to show how Mr. Horner came to be the person he is. Is that an accurate quote?
Yes.
But in this case, let me just ask you, a lot of stuff that we had in this case was covered by pretty much all the diagnoses you gave. For example, you said he wasn't able to handle stress, right?
He has a great deal of difficulty handling stress.
Because of his autism, that's what you said.
The combination of his autism, his trauma history, PTSD symptomatology.
But that stress we're talking about, that stress, you mentioned that was FedEx causing him that stress because you said they changed his routes.
No, that would be too simple an explanation. I mean, the architecture of his brain is such that these kinds of stressors cause him to become very emotionally dysregulated.
Well, let me ask you again, the stress that you referred to and you listed out was something to do with his work-changing stress, correct?
Yes.
And it was something to do with his girlfriend at the time and whatever was going on with their child.
That was one thing.
So I'm just giving you some examples here. That was something else,
Yes.
correct? And that essentially that these were all things that were happening in his life, right? These were life stresses for him.
Yes.
And I'm just going to ask you, don't you think that some of those life stresses, for example, the things you were talking about, maybe were caused by doing drugs and partying all the time, some of those life stresses?
I don't think that doing drugs helped the situation, but no, I don't believe that these stressors were, well, they were life stressors that, I don't know that they were caused. I mean, they're life stressors that come up, you know, the postpartum depression, the financial distress, but his inability to cope with those is more biologically based.
So you don't think that the fact is he had problems at his work, with his girlfriend, and his life had something to do with potentially work ethic?
No, I don't.
Okay. You don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he's going out and purchasing narcotics and using them and partying on the weekends?
I don't know anything about narcotics, opioids. He used other things, but the drug use, in my opinion, the drug use was an effort to kind of modulate his mood and his anxiety level rather than just wanting to go out and party.
So you're saying he wasn't using drugs just to get high. That's what you're saying?
Well, that was probably part of it. But, for example, the cocaine use was because he was sleep deprived. He was also using those bangs, which have like 300, very high potency caffeine. He was using those to stay awake. And, of course, to improve his mood because he was very depressed.
Okay. So whatever he had, whatever was going on in his life, that made him use drugs.
That's overly simplified. He did not start to use drugs until he was 18 years old. So that in and of itself is somewhat unusual. I think that definitely the substance use began as part of an effort to fit in with the band and fit in with people that he was hanging out with. So there was a social element to the substance use, yes.
So again, going through this, you indicated yesterday he wasn't able to handle executive functioning, and what was that because of?
Well, he has poor executive functioning. It's not, he can't handle executive functioning,
All right,
but
so-
his brain, again, that frontal lobe, prefrontal cortex, he has trouble, in my opinion, because of the combination of the autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, PTSD, all of these. He has trouble with decision-making, judgment, shifting, what we call shifting cognitive sets. You know, when something happens, he has difficulty thinking about alternatives. That's executive function.
Okay. And that was, so then you said he had poor impulse control, and that was because of his depression?
No, poor impulse control, that's part of executive functioning, but also he has severe ADHD. He also, those two are the major reasons.
And you said something about it was hard for him to tell the truth, so he had to create this fake person, and what caused that?
I don't think it's as simple as there's something that caused it. As I said yesterday, I think that Zero gave him the ability to confess and distance himself from the horribleness that he had actually done.
And you said something about, you mentioned that he lied a bunch during the investigation, and you attributed that to he was feeling pressured or overwhelmed or something like that. Is that right? And that's why he lied?
That's part of it, yes.
And then you said that if we don't see him showing remorse, it's this thing called alexithymia. Is that what you said yesterday?
That's one of the things.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So let's talk about this. You said severe depression.
Yes.
And I think you listed a whole, like a long set of symptoms or something that goes with that, right?
Yes.
That's on page 4 of your report,
Yes.
right? You said things like he had fatigue and low energy.
Yes.
And apparently it has something also to do with ability to concentrate. Right, that's what you said on here as well, that's one of the
That's
two?
one of the criteria
Okay.
of depression that he exhibited or had
But,
problems
I
with.
mean, to be honest, ma'am, if he's out doing drugs, staying up all night, and he's fatigued and having all these problems, don't his own life choices cause these same symptoms?
I took those into account, and he wasn't staying out partying all night. That was when he went with his fiancee on weekends. But he was having trouble sleeping and was sleep deprived during the week also. So one has to, basically in my judgment, that the sleep deprivation was primarily related to his depression.
It wasn't related to him playing video games all night, doing coke on the weekends, smoking weed, things like that? You don't think that was related to why he's got fatigue and low energy?
I don't believe that was the cause, no.
Now, at the very end of page 4, I think we've already talked about this. You said at the very end of page 4, he says, it led to the use of substances. My vernacular is not that good, but ameliorate means to somehow fix his distress,
Lessen.
lessen his distress. So he had all this distress, and that made him turn to drugs.
Again, that's overly simplified, but he had that distress prior to using drugs.
I guess what I'm trying to figure out, was he just powerless to resist doing coke and smoking weed and doing acid and doing Molly and all that other stuff? Was he just powerless to resist that?
No,
So he made a choice to do that.
yes,
You talked a little bit about having issues with his job, right? I think you had several paragraphs in here that talk about his work history and his occupational history. I think that's on page 9, is that correct?
yes.
And I'm just going to get a couple examples. There's a lot in here, a couple of examples. You said on page 9, I'll just go to the one about working at Outback, since you mentioned that yesterday. You said that whatever he does not appear to be from lack of motivation. That's what you said, right? Is that on page 9?
Especially as he got older, yes.
Right, doesn't appear lack of motivation, right? And then, let me go to your notes here. How many pages were your notes?
I don't know, I didn't number them.
Okay, you didn't number them. Judge Mount, approach.
Yes.
If I told you they were 140 pages, would you disagree with me?
No,
And I'm going to show you, can you just look at those and see if that is a representative of your notes?
yes, they're mine.
Okay, well, hang on to those, we're going to need those.
Okay,
I did put some tabs on here, those are not your notes, but I didn't want to have you flipping through all, is that okay?
that's fine.
Okay, because they weren't page numbered.
Okay. You said in your report working for Outback that he was overwhelmed with the dishes piling up. That's what you say right here?
Yes,
On that? Okay, will you go to number 2 on your records right there?
yes,
Would you tell the jury what he sent a text to his boss at the time? What did he send to his boss before he left?
job, Outback dishwasher, told boss, F off, extra dishes, go outside a little bit, left.
So
Where are you? What are
I'm
you-
right here in the middle of the page. So he texted his boss or told his boss to F off.
Yes,
Okay. Now I'm looking in your report. Where is that in your report? What page is that on?
I probably didn't put that in my report.
Okay. You did put in here that about him explaining to you he was employed at Outback. He was leaving when he became overwhelmed by the dishes piling up. But the rest of the story is he told his boss to F off and he left. Correct?
after he left. He
Right.
told his boss.
Okay. Now, when we start looking at this, you said he had a couple of suicide attempts. I'm going to go over this quickly. I think they're in here. I don't remember where they are in your report. You'll agree with me, he had two primary ones, one in 18 and one in the jail in 23. Is that right?
No, he had 3.
Okay. Well, two that we know about because we have medical records, and then another one that they explained to you later, at a later time about what he did. The family explained to you what he did.
And him, yes.
Right, and him, yeah. So let's talk about the one in 18. You said that it was something to do about a girl who broke up with him. That was his stress at that time?
Yes.
But yet before he did it, he kind of, I'm going to use just my vernacular, he kind of phoned it in and told her that he was going to do this 10 minutes before, right?
Yes, for her to watch it.
For her to watch it. And then, did you review the JPS records and the notes about what he told the doctors, why he went ahead and did this?
I did review them.
Okay, and the JPS records reflect that he claims he staged his suicide to make his girlfriend mad. Did you read that?
Yes.
Okay. I was looking in your notes in your report. Is that in here?
If it's not in there, then
Yeah.
no.
Okay. So he gave a reason of why he did whatever he did, that he staged it to make his girlfriend mad.
That he was going to suicide to make his girlfriend mad, yes.
Right, okay. And then the one in 23, you read the jail records, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you realize on that one, he kind of phoned that one in too, right? He hit the button, and then when did whatever he did, and when they didn't answer, they came to find him. That's what the record reflects.
That he hit the button.
Yeah, he hit the button
Yes,
in there to
yes.
call. And then when he didn't answer, they came running. Right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So he kind of phoned it in again the second time, right?
I don't know that he phoned it in, but I believe he probably began to panic and press the button.
Okay. So I'm going to go through a couple of quotes in your report here. I want to make sure I get this right. On page 5 in your report, I just want to make sure that this is your quote here. It says, the cognitive distortion caused by severe depression leading up to the offense contributed to his already precarious ability to solve problems and deal with stress. That's what you were talking about before, about him having problem-solving issues. Is that right?
Problem-solving issues as part of his autism,
Right.
compounded by the cognitive distortion of depression, yes.
Right. That's one of the things, he had a problem, an issue with problem solving, right?
Yes,
Okay. And then you said, and I think, I'm going to get this quote right here, you said his impulsivity combined with the core deficits of autism spectrum disorder, cognitive distortion secondary to clinical depression compromise his ability to deal with stress leading up to and during the offense, right?
yes,
And those are those stressors you were talking about the other day with life, work, car, finances, things of that nature.
yes,
Okay. Now those sound like things that most people deal with every day. Would you agree with that?
yes,
And even you, according to you, showing up unannounced, that threw him for a loop and caused him a bunch of stress.
yes,
So his reaction, due to his autism spectrum, I'm gonna get this right here because it's not additive, it's compounding, right? That's the word you use, am I getting
Yes.
that right? Okay. His reaction to his autism plus his depression plus stress, his reaction to that, and plus the drugs, was to kidnap a child. That was his eventual reaction. all those things put together, that was his reaction, was to kidnap Athena Strand.
The precipitant was panicking because she saw him snorting cocaine.
Okay, so that, when we talk about this, that precipitant, that is what you told us yesterday, that's the point of the spear, if you will. That's where this thing begins, according to you.
Yes,
That's where the catastrophe begins.
yes,
And so, according to you, if there is him, if he doesn't see him, or she see him snorting coke, none of this happens.
yes.
That's what you're saying?
That's my opinion, yes.
Okay. Now, you said you used a term, and I want to get this correct here, a precarious ability to solve problems. That's what you wrote in here.
Yes,
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but he didn't have any problem solving the issue of how to get rid of the body of the child he just murdered, did he?
no,
He didn't have any problem solving the issue of how he was going to keep access to his crime scene the next day, did he?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, I'll tell you about that. You understand that he manipulated the scene and he manipulated other people so he could keep the van in which he murdered Athena in the next day.
That
You-
wouldn't surprise me, but I didn't know about any manipulation.
Well, I mean, you understand that, one, he was in the same truck the next day.
Yes,
And you understand that the reason why he was in the same truck the next day, because he called his boss, lied to his boss, and said he'd thrown up in the truck,
oh, yes,
and he needed that. You remember now?
yes,
So he manipulated people, his boss, family, and other people to keep his crime scene the next day,
yes,
and drove his crime scene around the next day, correct?
yes,
So he didn't have any problem solving the issue about how he was going to keep access to his crime scene the next day. He didn't have any problem solving issues with that.
correct.
And he didn't have any issue solving the problem about how to create this whole lie about backing into her and all the details about that. He didn't have any problem solving that issue, did he?
He, I don't know, problem, but he lied about it, yes,
Well, I mean, he created a very detailed scenario of exactly what he did, right?
yes,
To solve the problem and how to explain why she ended up in the truck in the first place, correct?
correct.
So he didn't have any problem-solving issues with that, did he?
Well, how he solved the problem was obviously very disturbed and foolish, but that was how he problem solved.
And did you notice that, whenever he shows up to the truck stop, he was able to manipulate the clerk into giving him free cleaning supplies? Did you hear that?
Yes, but manipulate, he just asked.
Well, in fact, he didn't just ask. He said, do you want me just to kick this out on your concrete, or do you want to give me free cleaning supplies?
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said.
Uh-huh,
So he manipulated the clerk to give him free things so he wouldn't have to purchase anything.
okay,
Is that correct?
yes,
And purchasing things leaves a trail, doesn't it?
I didn't think of that, but there were so many things that he did that left a trail, so I wouldn't see that as particularly critical.
And you understand that he's doing these things, these problem-solving type actions, within 10 minutes of him tossing her body in the water.
Yes,
It sounds like, to me, that his problem-solving is working just fine at this point, correct?
I would say it's not.
Well, it sure didn't slow him down, did it?
It did not.
So, now, we talked a little bit about drug use earlier. And if you'll go to number 1 in your notes there, I think it's on that. At the bottom of the page, you highlight something in orange, right?
Yes,
It says there, cocaine 2 weeks before. Is that an up arrow meaning increased? Is that what that means?
yes,
And then next to it, you write, not ACCU. Is that not accurate?
yes, that's what it would mean.
Okay, so you didn't believe him when he told you that?
I don't know why I wrote it, I don't remember now.
Now, did you put that in your report somewhere?
I don't know.
Okay. You want to take a look and see if you put it in there?
Are you saying it's not in?
I'm asking you if that particular bit of information about his drug use in the week before is contained within your 38-page report.
I know that I had his use of cocaine prior in the report. Oh, I have down, Mr. Horner had not used cocaine for about a month prior to the offense, but on the day of the offense, he was exhausted and anxious and used cocaine several times in the hours leading up to the offense. So I'm not sure why I have down not accurate, if it may have been that I had a collateral source that said he didn't have access to it or what. I don't know.
So you don't know and you don't remember?
I don't.
Now, the second thing you said here when you're talking about this cocaine story he told you was that you said where did he tell you he got the coke?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even know that I asked. I don't believe I even asked. I wouldn't have been interested in where he got the coke.
Well, would it surprise you if it's in your notes that he told you that he found the coke at home?
Oh, that's the coke that he used prior to Athena's abduction. I thought you were asking me who his supplier was.
No, I'm asking you and I'll clarify here, on the day of the offense, what did he tell you where he found the coke on the day of the offense?
He found it somewhere in the shed. He thought that it had been used up by someone else, and then he found it.
All right. This was his story to you about this cocaine thing.
This is what he told me, yes.
Okay. Now, with regard to that, he just said he found a bag of coke in his house, essentially.
Something like that.
Okay. Now, in part of your report, you said that the intoxication on the coke at the time of the offense contributed to his impulsivity and his impaired problem solving. Is that what you said in your report?
Yes.
Does that sound accurate?
Yes.
We've already talked about his problem solving. You'll agree with me that at or near or after the crime, his problem solving was working just fine. Right?
Again, I don't think his problem solving was working just fine, but he was solving problems as he saw fit in the way that he solves problems.
I mean, he was solving problems to cover his tracks.
Yes.
He was solving problems as to how he was going to explain things to everybody else.
I don't know that he was doing that at the time, but clearly that was happening afterward, after he was brought in.
Right. And so you talk about here his impulsivity.
Yes.
I'm going to take a little detour here. You talked a little bit about antisocial personality disorder yesterday. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but isn't impulsive behavior part of antisocial personality disorder?
It can be, yes.
Now, you watched the video of the abduction and the audio. Did you listen to the entire thing, the
Yes.
entire hour?
Yes.
Okay. And you'll agree with me, it wasn't impulsive when he covered up the camera an hour before he arrived at a delivery the day before. That's not impulsive, is it?
No, I wouldn't call that
And you'll
impulsive.
agree to me that his decision to cover up the camera again, approximately an hour before he kidnapped Athena, also not impulsive.
No, I wouldn't call that particular act impulsive.
That's planning, is what that is, right?
In that moment, yes.
That's planning and covering it up before you do something.
He was covering it up because he was using cocaine and cannabis, marijuana. That's why he covered the camera.
Oh, that's what he told you.
Yes.
You don't have any collateral source on that, do you?
No, other than he had covered up the camera prior to that also, when he had been using.
Right. So you're
Smoking
making
or
the
whatever.
assumption that that's what he's doing. And
And
you don't have any information to prove that one way or the other.
I don't.
And you don't see any other time on the entirety of that where he covered up the camera except those 2 times, an hour before he arrived at a delivery the day before on the same road, and an hour before he arrived at Athena's house on the same road the next day. He's not covering up the camera off and on all day, is he?
I'm not sure.
When you watched the entire video, did you not?
Yes,
Okay, so you don't remember that.
I don't remember.
And if that had happened, you'd have put that in your report, that he was covering up the camera multiple times to do cocaine, and you didn't put that in there.
No, I wouldn't have put it in because I didn't have a section on the actual offense.
Okay. Now, when we're talking about impulsivity here, when he puts her in that vehicle, and the first thing he says is, "Don't scream or I'll hurt you," that's not impulsive.
I would say it's neither impulsive or non-impulsive.
Well, it's a plan and an indication of what somebody wants at that immediate point.
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, to counsel testifying.
Or,
Yes,
and when he goes to a secluded location to sexually assault her, that's not impulsive. He drove 20 minutes to get over there. Correct?
correct.
And it wasn't impulsive when he calmly tells her and talks to her about her family, school, and other things. That's not impulsive either, is
I
it?
wouldn't call that impulsive.
And you would call that him trying to keep her calm in the vehicle, right?
Yes, and himself calm.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but with regard to her, he's telling her that so she stays calm for what's coming.
That may have been the reason. Not for what's coming. I don't know that I would agree with that. I think he's trying to keep her calm.
Well, you know what happened next, right?
Exactly.
He sexually assaulted her.
Yes.
But that's why he's keeping her calm.
I don't know that that was the reason.
Did you ask him why he was having these calming conversations with her before he sexually assaulted her?
I wouldn't call them calming conversations. I think he was just asking her questions. I don't know what his motivation for certain questions were.
You didn't ask.
No, I did not.
Now, you'll agree with me that what he did in this case, this was intentional, correct?
Yes.
And there was no meltdown, head banging, or anything of that nature during the entirety of this offense, was there?
I think he was emotionally dysregulated, but I didn't see any evidence of head banging or anything like that.
Now, you said, and I couldn't spell this word, but catastrophizing,
Yes.
my vernacular doesn't allow me to do that. All right. So basically, this was something that you said when she saw him doing coke, it was all over, and essentially what you're saying is she was dead and she didn't know it yet. That's
Those
what
would
you
not
mean.
be my words.
No, but I mean, you said once that thing happened, It was all a catastrophe.
No, I think that when he saw her, when he saw her, having seen him snorting the cocaine, that was when he decided that he needed to do something to stop her from telling anybody. When he put her in the truck, in my opinion, he didn't plan on killing her. It wasn't until he recognized, now it's so much worse because I've put her in the truck, and now what am I going to do? I think it may be in my notes. It was when she asked him, "Are you a kidnapper?"
Right.
That he thought, now I'm really done, something to that effect. And that's when he made that decision, not when he saw her, when she saw him snorting the cocaine.
So we have the end result, but what you missed was what happened in the middle.
Which is
Right.
what?
Sexual assault. That happened in the middle.
No, I think that maybe I'm misunderstanding your
He
question.
kidnapped her, he sexually assaulted her, then he killed her. That's how this goes together.
Actually, that's not what he told me, and that's not my opinion.
Okay, well, you listened to the audio, right?
Yes,
And at some point you recognize that he said, take off your shirt, take off your clothes.
yes,
That was prior to the time that he's killing her, correct?
yes,
Okay, so in the middle of this, when he's having this catastrophe, in the middle between when he kidnaps her and when he kills her, he takes the time to sexually assault her in the middle.
yes.
So his reaction, okay, we've talked about this, due to all the conditions you've talked about, the litany of things, I think 10 that you had out there, right? Wasn't it 10? 10 things that he has wrong with him?
Yes,
Okay. His reaction to that, because of what's wrong with him, was to go straight to murder with a sexual assault in the middle.
no, those disorders are not causative of what he did to Athena. They, again, contribute to the way that he thinks and the way he behaves, but it's not simple cause and effect. I'm not saying that his autism, PTSD, major depression, and ADHD caused him to do this.
So let's talk a little bit, you talked a little bit about antisocial personality disorder. You said he doesn't have that.
Correct.
Okay. But that's something that you said it has to be before he's age 15.
No, the criteria are that someone has to meet the criteria for conduct disorder
Okay.
before age 15.
And I think you said some of the things that go with antisocial are callousness, lack of concern, deceitfulness, irresponsibility. I think you've said that.
A persistent pattern of that.
Pattern of that. But in this case, you have a pattern of him being deceitful, do you not?
Within the context of this crime, yes, but that would not, in and of itself, qualify for that diagnosis.
But you understand that he's also told lies about other things he's done in his past as
Yes.
well. So that's a pattern of deceitfulness.
In my opinion, it was not sufficient, especially understanding why individuals with autism spectrum disorder lie. It's typically fear-based and driven by their cognitive difficulties, and in my opinion, I saw that in the kinds of lies that he had told in the past.
Right. The second thing you said is that there's some form of irresponsibility, right? So deceitful, irresponsible behavior, pattern.
Pattern of that, yes.
Looking through your report and your 140 pages of notes, you'll agree with me that he has a pattern of irresponsible behavior leading up to, before, and after this offense.
I did not think that he had a pattern of irresponsible behavior that would qualify for this diagnosis.
Okay, so, I mean, purchasing drugs and narcotics and things and doing that on the weekends not irresponsible?
Yes, it is irresponsible, but again, doing that in and of itself, or even in combination with certain things, again, it doesn't meet the criteria for antisocial personality disorder.
You also said lack of concern. I mean, surely you agree with me that he had lack of concern for Athena.
In the offense, while he was, I think that he was, yes, I will agree with that. But again, it's a persistent pattern, and it's very clear with respect to the diagnosis that these things can't be attributed to some other major mental disorder. And his difficulties with expressing concern and showing concern, in my opinion, are related to his autism.
Now, the last thing on here is some form of, you said, callousness, right?
Yes,
I mean, you'll agree with me that he was extremely callous with the way he treated Athena. I mean, after all, he was singing Jingle Bell Rock during this assault while he's screaming at her. You'll agree with me that that's callous, isn't it?
yes.
I mean, doesn't some form of antisocial personality explain why he has such a clear disdain and lack of regard for this child?
In my opinion, no.
You relate it to these other conditions.
Yes,
Now, you talked a little bit about, I'm going to get the terminology right, pedophilia disorder, pedophilic disorder, what's the right word?
pedophilia, or either way, pedophilia.
And I'm going to use your word.
I think it's pedophilic disorder in DSM-5, same thing.
If I say one or the other, you'll understand what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so what evidence did you review in this particular case to make that decision?
He does not have a persistent pattern of a sexual interest in prepubescent children, which is what pedophilia is.
Okay. What evidence did you review to make that conclusion?
The discovery information that was sent. Apparently, his cell phone was looked at in terms of what was on there. Of course, information from him, but in and of itself, that would really not be very significant, in my opinion, with respect to the pedophilia. But also, there was no information that I had that indicated that he had any sexual interest in children.
Now, you understand that there's allegations that in his early to mid-20s, he had sex with two 16-year-old girls, correct?
Allegations, yes.
Okay. And one of those, I think you put in your reports, something about her being drunk at a party. Is that correct?
What page are you?
I'm asking you. Do you remember that being in your
Yes, I
report?
remember that him telling me about that.
And this comes directly from him. There's no other collateral sources. This is just directly from him.
I believe it was directly from him, yes.
All right. And what I'm going to, let me just guess here. He told you that he didn't know that she was 16. That's what he told you.
The one that he told me about, yes, he did not know that she was 16.
And then I'm gonna venture to guess that he's telling you he didn't do it, and that he's the good guy in this scenario. Correct?
He didn't say he was the good guy in this scenario.
Well, he said he didn't do it, right?
Yes,
And that when he found out about it, he immediately distanced himself from the situation and didn't want any part of it. That's what he told you.
I know. Can you be more specific?
He said that he got real mad about it.
I mean, his reaction was inappropriate. It was very, I think, typical of the way in which he overreacts to situations.
I mean, Did you ask him if he had sex with these two 16-year-old girls?
Yes, I believe that I did.
And he denied it.
He told me about one of them, and he denied that he had. He said that she told him that she was 16, and he became really inappropriately irate. And as is typical of his thinking, he had not thought she was 16 because someone had sold her cigarettes, and you're not supposed to sell someone cigarettes under the age of 18.
That was his,
Correct.
what he told you.
Yes.
He didn't tell you that he knew her as far back as the 7th grade, did he?
No. Oh, he didn't tell me that. There were two, but no, he didn't mention that.
He didn't mention that to you.
No.
Okay. You know, there's testimony, and I think you reviewed this as part of your deal, about the allegations of the two victims in this case that were 16 at the time.
My
Did you
deal?
review that in your appendix? I'm sorry, in your appendix.
Yes.
You reviewed that information?
Yes.
And he didn't tell you that one of the victims he's known since she was in the 7th grade,
He did not.
that he would have known if she was 16.
I didn't, he did not tell me that.
Your Honor, can we clarify as to which person the state is asking about? If there are two, we need to differentiate between which allegation he's referring.
I'll let you do that on redirect if you wish.
So you don't, do you think if he indeed is having sex with 16-year-olds in his 20s, is that a problem for you?
Are you asking me if it's a moral problem, or if it is, if I think it's compatible with all of the information that I have?
Well, what I'm asking you is this, is that, you know, you said that some form of pedophile disorder is, has to be with what kind of children?
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, or I think I know what you're saying. That's not pedophilia.
Does gratifying himself on a 7-year-old child, that screams pedophilia, doesn't it?
No, it's disgusting, but it's not pedophilia. Again, there has to be a persistent pattern of sexual arousal to children, behavior to children.
I mean, did you read the DNA reports in this case?
I know there was DNA.
Right. And you know where it was found in Athena, right?
Not in Athena. I'm not aware that there was any DNA found in Athena.
You didn't read that they found DNA both in her vagina and her anus?
No, I did not.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach?
Mr. Tate, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I guess what I'm trying to clarify here, because you say it only happened just the one time, that doesn't relate to pedophilic disorder.
That doesn't in any way meet criteria for pedophilic disorder.
Did you review any testimony or interview the defendant's girlfriend? Mother of his child?
There was a deposition that I did review, yes.
And, I mean, wouldn't it be important to talk to her about what Mr. Horner's sexual interests were in making a determination as to whether or not he was into prepubescent children?
I did speak with her.
Okay, and what did she tell you about that?
She told me that they had a normal sex life and that, that there was no interest in children that she was in any way aware of.
Now, I want to make sure I get this accurate here. You indicate that we've talked about his difficulty in planning, and I think you also said he had difficulty linking actions to consequences. Is that right? That's what's in your report?
Yes.
Okay. And that he had impaired moral reasoning.
Yes.
But I think we've already talked about, he knew enough about linking actions to consequences to cover up the camera on the day of the murder, right?
Yes.
And he knew enough about linking actions to consequences to cover up the inside camera when he was going to sexually assault her.
I'm not sure why he covered up the camera at that point, but he did.
I mean, objectively, the inside camera, when he covers it up, prevented us from seeing exactly what he was doing, correct?
Yes.
So that's actions and consequences.
Could be. I mean, he covered up the camera before assaulting her.
Same with him cleaning up afterwards, right? That's actions and consequences.
Yes.
So he understands that. Now, when we talk about, I think you said that there's something, you said, I think you used the term moral reasoning. Did you use that term? I feel like you did.
I may have.
Okay. And, I mean, moral reasoning, you've already told us, he has enough moral reasoning to understand it was wrong to do what he did.
Yes.
And what he did to Athena, correct? That was wrong. He knew it had enough moral reason.
Yes.
Right? And when it came to his knowledge of whether it was wrong to sexually assault children, what did he tell you that he did the night after the offense to prove that he wasn't into children? What did he do?
He had sex with his fiancée.
So what page of your report is that on?
It wouldn't be in my report because I didn't have a section on the offense itself.
And I'm just asking you here, you didn't feel like it was important to have a section in your report on actually what he did to commit the offense?
It wasn't indicated as part of what I needed to do for a report.
So in your notes, if I remember correctly, if you're turning to number 10 in your notes, I think it's towards the back, ma'am, on my little tabs there. Am I right?
Yes?
And it says here that this is in the same conversation, that night he had sex with his girlfriend, I won't use her name, just to prove he wasn't into kids. That's what he told you.
Yes. Well, I don't know those were his words. I was pressing him to find out more about any prior interest in kids, and that was something that he told me.
Right. So he had, according to him, plenty of energy after committing this offense to go home and do that.
He had sex with his fiancée, according to him.
Right. Now, we talked a little bit about some of the interrogations. I'm going to go into that just a little bit here. You listened to the report in where he was re-interviewed by his own request by arrangement. Is that correct?
Yes.
That was 5 days after he'd been arrested, approximately.
Yes.
And what I'm getting at here is that at no point during that time did he express any issues with problem solving, moral reasoning, or any of the things you're talking about when he's trying to cut a deal to get out of jail.
Cut a deal?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
meaning that he went to them and he said,
Oh, I see.
let me out and I'll tell you what you want to know, essentially. But I want to see my kid for Christmas. He was fully aware of what he was doing at that point. He didn't have any problems with impulsivity, problem solving, or any of that when he's trying to cut that deal.
Clearly problem solving. I mean, there's absolutely no way that someone who had just done what he did was going to get out on Christmas furlough.
He sure thought he could.
That's the whole problem. Yeah, I mean, his ability to think through in a reasoned way is really impaired.
Now, despite all of this, despite everything that's gone on, despite murder, sexual assault, all that's gone on, I want you to go to page 29 of your report. The top of the page, if you will. What did he tell you about how good he slept his first night in jail?
He said it was his first night of good sleep in over a year.
So would you agree with me? It sounds like his conscience was clear at that point. He could sleep well.
No, not necessarily.
Now, the conditions and the diagnoses you've made in this case, I think you said are permanent, right?
What do you mean?
The
Permanent? Autism is, yes, it is a permanent condition.
And all this other stuff we're talking about, the diagnosis you made, these are all, we seem to be permanent conditions according to you.
The autism spectrum disorder, the neurodevelopmental disorder associated with fetal alcohol, yes. Major depressive disorder is episodic, and with treatment improves or even resolves, but you're at increased risk for further depressions. PTSD is chronic, will wax and wane his symptoms. Obviously, the substance use is in remission in a controlled environment. His tic disorder, that's likely permanent, and you see evidence of that under stress.
So essentially what you're saying is the same person who committed these acts is the same person who's sitting here today.
Yes.
Now, talked a little bit about malingering yesterday. And malingering, if you'll agree with me, is essentially lying about some things to achieve some kind of benefit, right?
Yes, or exaggerating things, yes.
And I'm sure you go over when you do these interviews with someone the importance of the person you're interviewing telling you the truth and not malingering. You go over that with them, don't you?
Not specifically, because I really want to understand what they're going to tell me without giving them warnings.
And I'm not going to go into all of it, but you knew when you walked into this interview that the defendant in this case had created a multitude of falsehoods and a multitude of stories about how all this went down. You knew that walking into this.
When I first came into the interview, I don't believe that I can't remember what I actually had reviewed, the extent of what I had gotten to review, but I wasn't fully aware of all of the lies.
Well, you know now.
Yes.
Right, the full extent of it. And you knew some of it, right, walking in the door to meet him for the first time.
I knew some of what he had said. I wanted to assess for myself what was lies and what was related to other things.
And again, you put it in your reporting, you concluded that he wasn't malingering. That's what you concluded.
Yes.
That's despite the fact that you knew walking in and after that he had lied to you directly.
malingering in terms of the information that I received and the overall evaluation, I do not believe that he was malingering his deficits, his mental disorders. There was plenty of collaboration for that. Do I believe that he lied at times? Absolutely.
So, but when he feeds you this story about him doing coke, right?
When he told me the
When he-
story,
yeah,
yes.
when he told you that, and Athena seeing him, you think that's the truth?
Yes, because it fit with the other information that I had had and with collateral sources too, as opposed to these other things that he had said that didn't make any sense really.
Well, it fit his narrative as to why he covered up the camera, correct?
What do you mean it fit it? Well, it made sense that that's why he covered up the camera.
Yeah. It made to you where it explained why he covered up the camera. This new story about this.
Yes,
That's what I mean by it fit his narrative. It made sense with the story he's already told.
along with other things, yes.
Right. Well, but the other things are things outside of that. It has nothing to do with the vehicle, the truck, anything happened that day, because you said that report of him doing coke, the only place it came from was him.
Yes,
And the only place that story about Athena seeing him doing that is only from him.
that's right.
So you don't even know if that's not another lie, do you?
No,
And it's a good chance it could be just another lie like everything else.
in my opinion, it's not.
So despite all the other massive amounts of untruth, you grab this story and say it's true.
I think that's a little bit of an oversimplification. After all that I reviewed, after spending many hours with him and talking with other people too, I think that that is the more, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, I think that that is actually what happened.
You really don't know, do you? You don't know. I mean, it's coming from the defendant.
With 100% certainty, no.
So let's talk about this. You asked him at some point what he did to murder Athena, did you not?
Yes.
And again, you said you didn't put that in your report.
No.
We have to go to your notes to find out.
There,
Right.
it's in my notes, yes.
All right? And I want you to go to the little section on there. I think it has a green tab on it. Several things in that area I want to ask you about. The bottom of that first page has got a little star next to it where it says, "She saw me doing cocaine." That's the beginning of him telling you that story, correct?
No, I think earlier on that page, it indicates that there was he put the sticker in front of the camera so she couldn't see it. I guess that's his boss or whatever. Did coke outside the truck to avoid the camera. And then at the bottom, yes.
And, I mean, you look at these videos, you don't see him doing coke on any of these videos, do you?
No.
Now, what did he tell you specifically that he did? I think you've already talked a little bit about him trying to strangle her or what have you. What else did he tell you he did to murder Athena?
You give me a minute.
I think if you go to number 6.
I think I have them in my notes too. It's more than one page, so I want to make sure that
And just to clarify, do you have a different set of notes?
No,
than
I have the same notes.
Same notes.
I'm hoping that you copy them exactly. Let's see. Okay.
I've marked it as number 6 on mine.
Number 6,
Number
it's
6.
not the green?
No, I had actually marked the specific section I'm going to ask you about.
Okay, so number 6. 2514. I don't see a 6 tab, I'm sorry.
Well, at the bottom of one of these on here, what does he tell you that he did to murder Athena? Besides strangle her, try to break her neck that you've already talked about.
Okay, he tried to kill her by breaking her neck,
Right?
then he choked her.
Right.
She was still alive after he choked her. He could hear her breathing. He did another line of coke.
Okay. I'm going to move you to the bottom of that page. Where it says, does it say something like he stopped by her cheek? Was that where that begins, at the bottom of that page? Is that your words?
Or creek,
Stopped by creek.
I'm not sure.
Could be cheek.
I don't think so. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
Stopped by creek, and he didn't use this term, I did, physical blows to the head with his fist and feet.
Okay. So he told you that he used physical blows, whatever his description was, with his fists and his feet
Yes,
to Athena.
yes.
So what specifically did he say he did with his fists?
I don't know. I don't recall.
I mean, you understand this is the first time he's mentioned and admitted to using his fists and his feet.
I don't know about that.
I mean, you read all the documentation, right?
Yes,
Do you find it anywhere else in there besides right here?
no.
Okay. So with that, did you ask him what he did with his fists?
I don't think I needed to. I don't know if I did or not.
I mean, you don't think it's important to know what exactly he did with his fists to beat somebody to death?
No, I don't.
I mean, you're making an assessment of all of this stuff and giving us a report, but what he actually did in the offense, I mean, are you telling us that's not important?
I think there's sufficient information to know what he did in the offense.
We know what he's lied about doing in the offense, right?
In terms of the interrogation and these other things you mentioned, yes.
But you didn't ask him, or you don't remember what he said he did with his fists,
He beat her with his fists.
okay? Is that what he said?
Yes, these are my words.
Okay, well, what are his words?
I don't recall, but what it came down to was that he beat her with his fists,
Okay. Now, what did he tell you he did with his feet?
kicked her.
Kicked her. That's what he said?
Yes.
Specifically? You've seen the autopsy photos in this case, have you not?
Yes,
Doesn't that explain why we have a tread-like pattern on her face?
Objection, Your Honor, that calls for speculation and is outside of her expertise.
Sustained.
So he kicked her and he beat her to death. Right?
yes,
You listened to the audio, did you not?
yes,
Did you hear the bangs in the audio?
yes.
Did you ask him about whether or not those multiple repeated bangs are him hitting her with his fists or hitting him with his feet?
No, I didn't.
You didn't ask him.
No.
And I just want to make sure here that if we didn't have your notes in this case, we would have never known that from your report. Is that correct?
That's correct. There is not a section on the offense in the report.
And I think that, you know, he also said, if you flip the page to the next page, he admits at that time where he's talking to you about how he wanted to have the same truck. And why did he say he wanted to have the same truck?
Because, well, there were two things. She had lost control of her bowels, and he vomited after the offense.
Okay. And I think your notes say, wanted the same truck because there was blood, urine, and feces in the truck. Is that correct?
Yes,
Goes back to what I asked you about planning. That sounds like planning, doesn't it?
what does? The truck, getting the
Keeping
same truck?
Keeping the same truck.
Yes.
Now, let me just ask you this from an objective perspective. Other than him telling you that he did coke, you don't have any objective watching all the video to say that that's true, do you?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
Sustained.
Now, you witnessed him go back down the same road the next day. You watched that video, didn't you?
Yes.
And you witnessed him talking to people and finding out what's going on, right?
Yes.
What did he say when you asked him about that?
I didn't ask him about that.
I mean, don't you think that that's relevant to his problem-solving skills?
Not necessarily. I didn't have, number one, I didn't have that. I don't believe I had that at the time that I interviewed him, and I don't think that that's not incompatible with his autism combined with his trauma history.
I mean, doesn't that explain his knowledge of the consequences of this particular act? Driving back through the crime scene?
Oh, I don't know why he drove back through the crime scene.
Oh, you didn't ask?
No.
You said something about his strategic criminal thinking. Is that your words you used yesterday?
I don't remember.
Strategic criminal thinking, does that sound like something you would say?
I don't know.
I wrote it down, I think that's accurate. But if I use that term, strategic criminal thinking, you would agree with me that prior to the offense, during the offense, and after the offense, including the day after, his criminal thinking is working very well at that time.
I would disagree with that.
I mean, he planned for it. You agree with me with that, correct?
He didn't plan for it over a lengthy period of time. After it happened, he began to, as I said, kind of catastrophize and had very poor problem solving and planning.
Let's talk about sexual assault in this case. You heard him, and I think you mentioned it in here, where he told her to take off her shirt. Did you hear
Yes.
that? You heard him say, take off your clothes.
Yes.
What did he tell you did with her clothes?
His clothes or her
Her
clothes?
clothes.
I can't remember what he told me he did with with her clothes.
So up until this point, and including with you, he denied doing anything sexual to her multiple times.
I don't know about multiple times, at least once he denied it.
And now I think if you go to number 7, I think it's number 7 on my notes here. In your notes, you indicate 7. Sure, yeah, 7. Sorry about my handwriting on the notes there. And he says to you, I guess is to explain the reason why she seems like she's gagging, he tells you he's trying to put a pill in her mouth. That's what he tells you.
Yes.
You don't believe that, do you?
Well, I don't believe that's all of what happened.
Okay. What do you believe all of what happened?
I believe that he was attempting to have her perform oral sex.
Anything to do with that comes from him again, does it not?
Partly from him, but more from my interpretation of the video and what I heard.
And so you've told us a couple of times, so this information he gave you about the pill and the other thing, that's only found in your notes and not in the report.
That's right. There is no section on the actual offense.
So he says to you in your report, he exposed himself to her,
Yes,
and that he also masturbated as well at the time.
he attempted to,
According to him.
yes.
And when you challenged him with all that and said, hey, I don't believe you, what did he say?
I don't remember exactly what he said in that moment. At some point, he admitted to what he had done.
But his statement is he tried, but he didn't actually do anything.
He couldn't get an erection.
What did you ask to follow up with that?
I don't remember.
Now, you had a little bit, you talked about future danger yesterday. Remember talking about that?
Yes,
I mean, when we talk about prison is really the definition of chaos, isn't it?
it can be.
And prison's really the definition of stress, isn't
It
it?
can be. It depends, especially, obviously for a neurotypical person, it would be very stressful.
And change in prison is not determined by the inmate. It's determined by the prison system, correct?
Change,
Any changes as far as location, cellmate, any of that is all determined outside of the inmate's consent.
yes.
And Matt, let me just ask you, you don't really think that there's no drugs in prison, do you?
No,
And in this particular case, you realize that prison, I think you said, offers some structure. They eliminate certain weapons and things like that in prison, right?
yes,
But in this case, you'll agree with me that Mr. Horner, he carries his preferred weapons with him everywhere he goes, doesn't he?
his preferred weapons,
Well, he beat her to death with his fists. Those go with him, don't they?
he will be having his fists with him in prison.
And his other weapon of choice to murder Athena was his feet. Those go with him, don't they?
Yes,
And you don't disagree with me that Mr. Horner has the capacity for extreme violence.
in that situation, that was the only situation that I'm aware of that he exhibited extreme violence.
So he has the capacity for it. You
Yes.
just haven't seen it again.
Yes,
And he also has the capacity to victimize someone sexually, doesn't he?
a child,
A child.
yes,
Potentially 16-year-old girls as well.
I don't know that he victimized 16-year-old girls.
I mean, you would agree with me that having sex with a 16-year-old girl with a 23-year-old male is illegal.
Yes,
Now, you talked about Mr. Horner's trigger being stress, chaos, with all the conditions you talked about, right?
yes,
And in this case, his trigger in this case, the end result was a kidnapping and a murder. Correct?
correct,
But you still say you believe he's going to be prey, not predator.
yes,
Now, if I'd asked you that question the day before the murder, you'd have said the same thing, right?
yes,
You'd have been wrong.
No.
Objection, Your Honor, that's improper question.
Sustained.
You would have said November 29, 2022, that he was not at a risk of committing violence at that time.
Objection, Your Honor, that calls for speculation.
Or a letter answer?
Could you rephrase the question?
On November 29th, 2022, the day before the murder, you would have come in and said that he's not a risk to murder someone, correct?
I would say he was at low risk. Correct. No one is at no risk under
Right.
proper, if you want to call them that, conditions.
And you would have never concluded that he would sexually violate a child the day before the murder,
That's correct.
because you says he doesn't have these interests.
Correct.
That assessment, if you made that November 29, 2022, would have been incorrect, based on the facts of this case, wouldn't it?
If I made a prediction that he would not sexually assault a child, yes, that would have been correct.
Same thing with any prediction you would have made about him committing a murder. That would have been incorrect, correct?
Correct.
Now, I want to make sure I'm clear with this. The entirety of your report about him catastrophizing, did I get that word right again? Catastrophizing?
Yes.
Is based on the presumption of this single act of him seeing Athena, or Athena seeing him doing coke. The entirety of your assessment is based upon that particular act.
I wouldn't simplify it like that.
Well, let me help you. In this case, anything that has to do with the catastrophe starts with that one single thing. In this case, his belief, somebody had seen him doing cocaine.
And everything else that would follow from that.
Right. But if that act, what he's telling you, the story he's telling you about her seeing him is untrue, and that is false, then everything below that is also false, correct?
I don't know that everything below that would be false, but it would certainly change things.
The entirety of your theory that he catastrophized, if that particular story he told you is untrue, like all the other lies he told you, then the whole thing about catastrophizing, all of that fails as well.
No, not about catastrophizing. No.
Okay.
That is something that he has exhibited long before the offense. So the
But
fact
in
that he
this
does...
case, your theory in this case, though, about what happened on the day of the event is dependent upon that one event.
That set it off.
Now, part of this, and this is where I'm going to finish up now, thank you for working with me here. You note in your report in several places where Tanner wanted to be famous, didn't he?
Yes.
Wanted to be a rock star.
Yes.
And in fact, you said that was he told you it was his only goal in life.
Yes.
And I think you said you listened to some jail call. Did you listen to a jail call where he's talking about telling his story to maybe make some money? You listened to that.
To get out of, I think it was, again, completely unrealistic and evidence of extremely poor thinking, irrational, that somehow he would sell his story to get bailed out, get enough money to be bailed out.
Well, that's what he's telling me.
Yes, that's what he said on the phone.
Number 11 here, what does he tell you about what he thinks his situation is like? It's on number 11 here. I think he compares it to a movie, does he not?
All right, we're going to take 10 minutes, the jury needs a break, but we are going to finish with this witness. 10 minutes.
Wow, Keith. You and I have sat here shaking our heads, and I'm almost speechless at this, right?
Yeah.
Your take.
I mean, I think y'all got to witness just a job of how you treat an expert that it seems like she's willing to say just about anything that helps him and will not concede the little common sense things that I think would have made her testimony probably a little bit shorter and a lot easier on herself. But I mean, I'm just shocked at her explanation for some of the things that Tanner has told her, and also just shocked about how so much very important details were left out of her ultimate report that they had to go back into her notes to even get that information from.
And I mean, the description about, oh my God. And I was sitting here as we were listening to this testimony about the sexual assault, sexual abuse, whatever you want to call it, that, she's saying that he acknowledged to her that he was trying to have oral relations with a 7-year-old.
Right. Right.
A 7-year-old. And
yeah, and I think Terry indicated this as she's been on here, and she was present during the playing of the audio, and she said that you couldn't see things, but clearly what you could hear, that there was deviant sexual stuff going on. And I think now we know exactly what she was talking about or alluding to, and again, we've had this conversation that you just think, oh, it's not going to get much worse,
Oh, no.
or you're not going to hear anything worse, and then you hear just more worse stuff. And this statement that he tells the doctor that he went and had sex with his fiance.
Oh my God.
The day, the night that the day that he killed.
so he could prove that he wasn't that wasn't into kids.
Right. And that gets left out of the report too.
It wasn't. I'm trying to read my handwriting here. Basically, that it wasn't in her report, but she didn't have a section for that.
Right.
And basically, it wasn't needed for her report. Is essentially what I wrote down.
Right.
I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Right. Well, and again, with these experts, it all goes to their credibility. They can be designated as an expert, and a jury could find that they're just not going to believe them. And I think really, it's been a long time since I've seen, it just seems like she has a justification for everything that he says whenever they point out, well, he's malingering on things. Well, I don't think he was malingering. Yes, he did lie to me about certain things. He didn't tell me things, but I think whenever he's talking about snorting cocaine, I believe that, and I think he's telling the truth. And then when she said with her, she's almost certain with her medical, how she said it, with
Something about
medical certainty,
or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the truth. And I just think that the more that she talks now, the more that she answers questions, I really think that a jury could just say, I don't believe a single word that this doctor says.
I know my blood pressure was going up during that. I'm glad that my I don't have blood pressure problems because if I did, I would have been off the charts. Okay, so we're going to bring Rebecca Lopez, our senior crime and justice reporter, who's at the courthouse. Rebecca, I don't know how you feel about this testimony, but I know Keith and I have sat here and watched this, and we have shaken our heads. We have just gone, well, yesterday it seemed like that, the defense was doing a pretty good job with this witness, but clearly this prosecutor, he is taking her apart step by step.
Yeah. And remember, Tanya, I had heard her testimony when they were doing qualifying these witnesses, these expert witnesses, when the jury wasn't here during those hearings. And I saw the prosecutors did that. And I think I pointed out yesterday that they were going to continue to point out Anna Horner is a liar. He's lying to you. Your basis is for why he did what he did is false. It's untrue. It's based on lies. And he is conniving and manipulative. And that is what I got from when I was hearing her before, except this time she's actually digging herself, I think, into even a deeper hole than she did during the first set of hearings. But I knew that this prosecutor would eventually take her testimony apart. I ran in there because I wanted to. I've been in the overflow courtroom, but I ran into the courtroom because I wanted to see how this jury was reacting, and they reacted like many people. One juror was smirking, like almost like laughing at her testimony and rolling his eyes. And he's one of the jurors that has also been pretty emotional. The other jurors are just looking at her like, what? And then the family is there. Everybody's eye rolling and like, what is she talking about? That's the reaction in the courtroom.
And is this supposed to be their main key expert?
Yes, that. In fact, I actually thought they were going to end with her testimony on Monday, but I guess they're going to bring in somebody else. But she is their key witness. I mean, they paid her $100,000 to do so, to be their key witness.
Wow, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, Rebecca, thanks for just describing what that jury's response was, because we've been sitting here and just wondering, because it sounds absolutely ridiculous. Like, she won't concede on little things, you know, that she is so adamant that he was telling her the truth about this snorting cocaine. And it's just all the things that she left out of her report. And there's always with her an explanation for something of why she can get to the conclusion that she did. But, you know, me and Tanya were talking, and this, the doctor and then the prosecution has just totally, I think, just ripped her up. And as we were talking before about, I think he's going to walk through the steps of what happened, and he walked through what Tanner did throughout the whole process, and she couldn't even concede those things of how that. And then when he got her to even admit that some of the steps for the antisocial diagnosis that he does, I mean, you could affirmatively say that he falls in that with what she would have to review, but then he got her to say that she doesn't believe that. So your thoughts on that, Rebecca? I mean, I really am pretty shocked by this. I mean, I don't think that she has come off credible at all. And like you said, I think she's dug herself an even deeper grave today than, and I don't know what she testified before, but it doesn't sound good today at all.
Well, and then at one point she actually disagrees with two other doctors.
Right.
And I thought that was a really interesting point when the prosecutor pointed that out. Like, oh, so these guys are wrong. She's like, no, yeah, I'm correct. But again, she says that everything that she based on what happened in this crime and why he reacted the way he reacted was based on the fact that he thought that Athena had seen him snorting coke, when there is no evidence of that all from either the police, the videotapes. I mean, I saw and heard the videotape. There is no evidence that he was doing anything besides doing what he was doing to Athena, whether he was snorting a line of cocaine outside the truck. That there's just no evidence of that.
Right. Rebecca,
and so it's that anybody's, you know.
I'm sorry, Rebecca, I didn't mean to cut you off. One thing that I was curious about, because he says that the only time that they've heard Tanner actually admit to using his fist and his feet was with this doctor, and he hadn't told it to anyone else. And then she didn't even go into asking him, well, how did you use your feet and how did you use your hands, your fists? I was very surprised by that she wouldn't try to ask more questions, get more details about that. I'm not sure if you were in the courtroom or in the holdover room whenever that was testified to, but I was going to see what your response was to that.
Well, yeah, no, I had the same response, that why wouldn't she ask him? Because I heard that hour-long tape, and let me tell you, it was so loud. You can hear the bang. In fact, I actually thought he was picking her body up and slamming her against the van. That's how loud it is. It is loud. And why a person that is evaluating someone about why they did what they did would not ask him, what were you doing? It really is incredulous, honestly. I think that this jury had a hard time believing what this witness has
All right.
said. The prosecution is just destroying her on the stand.
Hey, Rebecca, we're starting to lose you a little bit, and Horner's back in the courtroom, so I think we're probably about to start back up here in a second. So we'll pick back up with you later this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay, so Keith, I think about like the fact that she left out of her report the part about him, that after he has killed Athena Strand, after he's committed this horrific act, he decides to go home and have sexual relations with his girlfriend to prove that he's basically not a pedophile.
Right.
And that doesn't make its way into her report because that's not relevant. There's not a section for it.
Right. I mean, just you're floored, right?
I
mean, just common sense just seems that would be something that you would find important in any kind of an evaluation of a person. But just seems, all due respect, it seems like incompetence. Or it seems like a willful desire to only put what you think is beneficial to him
Right.
and leave out the things that potentially could hurt him.
Well, or that that he, and I don't know, I can't remember if she put this in or not, but that he said his first night in jail, that was his best night of sleep in over a year. And then he's asked, the prosecutor asked her, was that indicate his conscience was clear? And she says, oh, not necessarily. Your first night in jail is your best night of sleep in over a year?
Right.
Really?
Most people would probably say it's the worst night of sleep that they've had in over
I mean,
a year.
I just, the whole time you and I were sitting here, and I just was going, I cannot believe, and like you said, and then also just walking through over and over and over all the ways that he was able to plan and make decisions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because he supposedly, according to her, got these executive function, what did she say? Poor executive function. I'm looking back at my notes, guys. But he certainly can make some decisions. He can make phone calls. He can organize stuff. He can dump a body. He can ensure that he gets the truck the next day. I don't know. It feels like pretty good executive function to me.
Right. And it's all the examples that she says he has poor decision making, problem solving. And the prosecutor walks her through all the problem-solving deals that he did that night of how he manipulated. We hadn't heard this. Manipulated the clerk to give him free stuff.
That was a new one. I had not heard that before.
He says, so that I don't rake all this stuff in your, I guess on your property, all the stuff that's in the truck or whatever. So I mean, it's just lie after lie.
We may not like, or we don't like, his problem-solving, but he was problem-solving.
Right. But the doctor, according to the doctor, that wasn't a valid problem solving.
Right.
And I think that's where she's losing credibility. The more she talks, the more she talks, the more she talks, because she won't concede even the little things that all of us lay people looking at this from the outside in that aren't there, that haven't read her notes or had the conversations with him. She won't even concede the little things. And I think that the prosecutor's doing great by just going over every little bit.
Oh, he is.
I'm going to make you own. I'm going to make you own everything that you want.
Apart.
Exactly. So
I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of masterful, questioning in trials, but this has been masterful.
Well, it's kind of like the saying, death by 1,000 cuts. Like he's just nicking her away. I mean, and it's like pretty soon, I don't know. I would assume the defense is going to try to rehab her to some extent. I don't know. I think it might be best for them to just ask a couple questions and get her out of there, because I think that really she's probably, if this is their main expert, and I figured that it probably would be, I mean, I don't know what else they have with her. I don't know what else she adds. I think that the jury sees she is going to say what she's going to say.
Well, what's interesting to me is, Rebecca's describing how, this expert testified in these hearings outside the presence when they were qualifying her. and that she apparently doesn't seem ready for these questions.
Right.
Like you testified outside the presence, right? You ought to have known like some of this is coming.
Right.
This is coming your way like a freight train.
Well, I think that, like I said, I think some of it is just her not conceding the little things, and I think it just makes it even worse for her because then, you know, and really she's given an opinion. I think that probably some of her opinion now with the jury, in front of the jury, might be a little bit more than maybe what she testified in these hearings. But I think for the prosecution, I think it plays into his hand or into their hands on that, because she's just giving them way more stuff just to attack her on and show why she's not credible.
You think she comes off as a paid shill, basically?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and again, I don't know if the money goes into her pocket or the university's pocket, but you know, she's the highest paid witness that we've seen so far. She's admitted that she's probably gotten over $100,000.
A lot of money.
You know, a lot of money. But I think with that, you know, people are just like, okay, but what you're saying doesn't make sense, and you're not conceding the things that you should concede on. So you do come off as just a hired hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I'm just kind of going down my notes here because I was, you know, I was taking a lot of notes on this one because, you know, like he was asking her about, they were talking about Tanner Horner's drug use, right?
Right.
And she's wouldn't concede that was part of his sleep deprivation issue.
Right.
That
Right.
she claimed, oh, it's really part of his depression. If you're using drugs and you're playing video games and you're staying out all night, you're probably sleep deprived.
Right. And then she talks as if he's only doing the drugs on the weekend, because she says it didn't affect his work because he was doing this on the weekend.
But apparently he was using, but you just said,
told them that he took a line of coke right before he saw Athena, and that's why this all started. So.
But apparently he, according to this, he also took a line of coke during the killing of Athena.
Right. Right.
I mean, I just.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that when she's asked about, you know, these symptoms and the sleep deprivation, I don't believe that was the cause. Really? Really?
Right.
I mean, you know, I was out late last night at a play, right? So I might be a little sleep deprived today. Well, clearly there's an issue with him.
Right.
Okay, we got sound back in the courtroom.
All right, everyone may be seated. Mr. Stainton, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Got a couple of questions, ma'am. Thank you for bearing with us today. Something I wanted to ask you about when it comes to, you made some testimony the other day about future danger in prison. We talked a little bit about that earlier. You would agree with me that there is some probability that the defendant may commit some acts of violence in prison, right?
Yes, there's a probability that anyone will commit acts of prison.
Including the defendant.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to ask you just very simple questions. We talked a little bit about pedophilia disorder.
Yes.
That's right. And you've reviewed some information in relation to that recently, correct?
What information?
You've reviewed some information related to your testimony with regard to pedophilic disorder.
I know what pedophilic disorder is.
Okay. And that information that you reviewed recently in that case, did it change your opinion as to whether or not you had pedophilic disorder?
No.
Now let me ask you the last question here that I was getting to before. You still have that page of your notes up?
Which
where I have the
page?
number 11 on there, if my
Okay.
is correct. correct?
Yes.
We're talking about Mr. Horner's desire to be famous. What did he tell you and relate this situation to as far as the movie? Would you read that last paragraph on that for us?
Wonders if he made a deal with the devil for fame, money, power, like the movie American Satan.
House of Witness, Your Honor.
Read it right.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Ryan, when you were retained in this case, were you asked to give an opinion on the offense itself?
I don't know what you mean.
When you were retained, were you asked to do an insanity evaluation?
No, that was not what I was retained for.
What was the purpose of your evaluation?
It was a mitigation evaluation.
In a mitigation evaluation, do you focus more on the facts of the offense or the history of the person you're evaluating?
The person you're evaluating.
And the facts of the offense are important,
Yes.
but are those things that you would put in your report?
It would depend on what I was asked to put in my report. I mean, in terms of what I was asked to focus on, and if I was asked to not describe the offense in the report, I wouldn't. It's not an insanity evaluation.
And so for this particular case, your focus was on the history of Tanner?
History, yes. Social development, his mental health.
Dr. Ryan, the prosecutor asked you about self-report. And you had mentioned that self-report was important. But do you rely solely on self-report?
No.
How do you verify these things that you are given by the person you're evaluating?
Well, in terms of verification, is it maybe not the correct word, but...
Corroborate?
Yes.
We'll go with corroborate. How do you corroborate what has been self-reported?
Just within the context of the evaluation itself, to be able to weigh inconsistencies and what they mean, and what they indicate, and how they fit into what I've already determined or am determining about the person's cognitive abilities, their cognitive status, more or less, their emotional abilities, and then to look at the body of information that I've received, see if things essentially line up, and also to talk with other sources of information.
In this particular case, in reviewing all of the records, in reviewing all of the discovery that you were provided, and the almost 20 hours that you spent with Tanner Horner evaluating him, the collateral witnesses that you interviewed, and you interviewed quite a few of them, did all of that line up with the self-report?
Most of it that was, all of it that was important and that went into my opinion.
The prosecutor asked you about the suicide attempts, and he used the phrase, phoned it in. With these suicide attempts, were they serious attempts?
Yes.
Were they almost successful?
Yes.
Does that give you an indication that he phoned it in?
I think they were very serious attempts with an intent to die.
The prosecutor also talked to you about Dr. Imhoff's report and that you did not agree with him on the diagnosis of PTSD. Is it uncommon for different doctors to have different opinions on very specific symptomology?
Well, if the doctors are working with the same body of information, there should be that's called reliability. They should be coming to the same conclusion, but especially in a forensic case, this kind of situation, people have access to different types of information. They may not have met with the person for as long a period of time. They may not have spoken with other collateral sources.
Do symptoms for something such as PTSD, are they present every time you meet with the person you're evaluating?
They're not observable every time.
And so if a person doesn't observe it at that time, does that mean it doesn't exist?
No.
With regards to your report, do you put every detail that you have into the report?
No.
How do you determine what is relevant and what is not?
Well, I think it's important not to cherry pick, for example, and if there's information that goes against my diagnosis, I would indicate why I discounted that, for example. It's important to, I think, in a report that it's very clear why I made the diagnoses that I made and why I came to the conclusions that I came to, why I have the opinions that I do.
And in this case, did you put into your report things that you felt were relevant?
Yes.
Were all the things that you put in your report necessarily helpful to the defense?
No.
Did you feel that it was still important that the jury had that information?
Yes.
So they could make their own determination?
Yes.
There was a lot of talk about problem solving. And I want to go back to, what do you mean by problem solving?
Well, problem solving is different for different situations, right? Some problem solving requires very little executive function on the part of the person making the plan or the problem. So if you have a problem, for example, that you spill coffee on your jacket before going to work, doesn't require a whole lot of executive function to go put something else on. More complicated issues require more executive functioning, better judgment, planning, rational thinking, being able to shift from one thing to another. And then, if you are emotionally dysregulated, that compromises your ability to problem solve. So the more complicated, the more upsetting and distressing a situation is, the more impaired potentially someone with Mr. Horner's deficits are going to be.
Well, the prosecutor specifically said, it sounds like he was problem solving when he cleaned the truck. Sounds like he was problem solving when he covered up the camera. Sounds like he was problem solving. Based upon your training, your experience, and everything that you've reviewed in this case, what is your opinion about Tanner's ability to problem solve in that situation?
I think it comes down to what's his ability to problem solve in a reasonable way. And on some level you can say, well, it's reasonable to clean up your crime scene, right? But when you look at the totality of his problem solving, you recognize how poor it is.
In what way?
Well, for example, he was aware that his boss has access to these cameras. That's why he covered up the camera when he's snorting cocaine. So it's not good problem solving to think that he's going to get away with this because he cleans out the back of the truck.
You brought up the covering up the cameras. There were a lot of assumptions that were being made about why this may or may have happened. I mean, covering up the cameras. So the question I have is covering up a camera after a kidnapping indicative of planning to kidnap?
No.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think it's an indication of his poor planning and problem solving. There really wasn't planning involved, right? So if he had planned it, he would, I mean, we talked yesterday about the difference between IQ and some of the other deficits that he has. He would not have done this in the way he did if he had planned to kidnap Athena.
The other thing that the state had asked was about actions and consequences. Would it make sense to uncover a camera while you were trying to clean up the evidence of a crime?
No.
You were also asked about the story of the snorting of the cocaine and him catastrophizing that incident. And you were specifically asked, do you have any evidence that he was snorting cocaine? My question is, do you have any evidence that he wasn't doing what he said he did?
No.
Which brings up the difference between malingering versus lying. Please explain to the jury what the difference is between malingering and lying.
Well, malingering involves lying, but lying doesn't have to involve malingering. So, in my opinion, the lying that Mr. Horner has done has been consistent with the lying that people with autism spectrum disorder do. It's fear-based, basically to avoid getting into trouble. That's the way I would see it, rather than, well, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, continue.
No, I think it's cognitively driven by his poor problem solving and his difficulties with executive functioning. But fear is a major driver, emotional dysregulation by being afraid.
Do you take into account the deficits that a person exhibits when determining whether they are malingering versus lying?
Yes.
And in Tanner's case, did you detect that he was malingering in any way?
No, and malingering has to do with fabricating or grossly exaggerating a disorder, for example, a physical or psychological disorder. So lying isn't the same as malingering. So as I said before, malingerers lie about their disorder, for example, to get into the hospital or to whatever. But you can lie without being a malingerer.
And Dr. Ryan, there was a lot of talk about manipulation. When we're talking about, let me back up. The state asked you about antisocial personality disorder.
Yes.
And spoke about manipulation and impulsivity, irresponsibility, callousness, things like that. Based upon your evaluation, did Tanner meet the criteria for antisocial personality disorder?
No.
Did he exhibit a pervasive pattern in this case?
No.
And I'm going to ask you to explain to the jury, what do we mean by a pervasive pattern?
A pattern over a period of time. Now, and that's in the criteria for antisocial personality disorder, why you have to have met the criteria for conduct disorder prior to the age of 15. Because you would be talking about a persistent pattern over years of behavior that is not only illegal, but is not, defies the rights of others, doesn't take into account the rights of others.
So when we're talking about a pervasive pattern, does that mean that it's, a one and done? Or, if somebody snaps and they do something, does that qualify in and of itself as being a pervasive pattern?
It's not a one and done, it's not even a five and done. I mean, you have to have a persistent pattern of this kind of behavior across antisocial behavior, across numerous realms, I guess.
Now, with regards to the diagnostic criteria for antisocial personality, does one have to fail to conform to societal norms with respect to lawful behaviors?
Yes.
And would that be indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest?
Yes.
Did you find that in this case?
No.
Another part of the criteria relates to deceitfulness, such as using aliases or conning others for personal profit or pleasure.
No.
Did you find that in this case?
No.
With regards to impulsivity and failure to plan, is that something that was present in this incident?
Yes, and he has been impulsive in the past, too.
We talk about irritability and aggression indicated by repeated fights or assaults. Were you able to determine whether or not Tanner meets that criteria in this case?
Yes, and he doesn't.
What about reckless disregard for the safety of himself or others?
No.
What about consistent irresponsibility as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations?
Again, in the criteria for antisocial personality disorder, those things can't be related to another disorder. He does have the failure to sustain employment, but in my opinion, that's due to his autism spectrum disorder.
What about lack of remorse?
No.
So you mentioned that the criteria for ASPD, it sounds like it can't occur in a vacuum. That if it can be attributed to something else, you have to consider that something else as well?
Yes, now you can have both antisocial personality disorder and autism spectrum disorder. Mr. Horner doesn't, in my opinion.
Explain to the jury what is meant by differential diagnoses.
It's the procedure by which physicians, for example, would gradually, they would take into account the symptoms that someone comes in with, and then gradually distill it down based on symptoms, lab tests, for example, to what they think is a group of likely diagnoses. For example, if someone comes in with a cough, that could be a lot of different things causing a cough, right? So then the person tells you that they have blood in their sputum. That narrows it down. Could be bronchitis, could be a virus, it could be pneumonia, it could be tuberculosis, it could be cancer. So then you do more interviewing and testing to kind of narrow it down to what you think the diagnosis actually is.
And lastly, Dr. Ryan, the state asked you about the capacity for extreme violence on the part of Mr. Horner. If Mr. Horner were sent to prison, in your opinion, what level of risk of violence would he be assessed?
In my opinion, he'd be assessed as a low risk of violence. I'm not sure what kind of placement he would have based on the crime, but in terms of his actual violence risk, it would be low.
One moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Staton?
All I'd like to do, Judge, is offer, I think, a market estates 309. 309, the good doctor's notes that she's been talking about in this case.
And you're offering it for all purposes?
Yes.
Any objections?
One moment. No objection, Your Honor.
State's Exhibits 309 will be admitted.
Nothing further.
May Dr. Ryan be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Safe trip.
Thank you, Your Honor.